Kia ora and welcome to this tutorial video on inserting a table into your document. In this video, I'm going to add a table, change the number of rows and columns, and talk about text wrapping both inside and outside the table. To add a table, there are a couple of options. Either go to the Insert tab or the Insert menu, and then from there's the Insert menu, choose Table. Now if you do that from the menu, it's going to ask you to put in the number of rows and columns, and we can just leave the auto-fit behavior. Or if you go to the Insert tab, you can just click on Table and hover over the number of cells that you'd like. I'll just go in here and click and set up a 3x3 table. Now notice when I first put this in that my table is going out to the margins. That's the default behavior. I'm going to go into this table and just add some text so that it'll be easy for you to see when I've made changes to the table. Now while my cursor is inside the table, I get a couple of tabs on the ribbon: Table Design and Layout. I'm going to go to the Layout tab and do some things in here. With my cursor inside of a particular cell, I'll choose to insert above, and you'll see that it just goes above the row where that cell was. And likewise, if I go down and insert below, same idea. And if my cursor is back here and I go to the left, well, it's to the left of wherever it was. So this is pretty straightforward. What a lot of people don't realize is, notice that I've got a bunch of cells selected. So if I were to insert above, I'm going to get that many number of rows as I had cells selected. So now I've got this many, I've got 4 columns selected. So when I insert to the left, I'll get 4 new columns. By the same token, with these selected, I'll just take these right here. I can delete that many rows, and it will delete the rows with the selected cells. Same thing here. I will delete the columns with the selected cells. So this is an easy way to go through and add, take things away. It's very easy to change, modify your table. I'm back to a smaller table, and notice that I'm no longer out to the margin. If I'd like, I can just drag things where I want them to be, or I can auto fit out to the window. Auto fit to the window just means that you just nicely fit to the margins, and you can do that with your tables. The other option is to auto fit to contents, which just takes you down to the exact width of your text. Now if I go in here and I click and drag, I can resize my columns, and I could even go doing that manually myself, or I could go up here and distribute the columns evenly within the table size I've created. Now when I do that, I just want to point out to you, you may have this set up just perfectly, and then you put in some data with no spaces, and it will resize that column. If there is a space in there, it will wrap the text around that space, but if there's no spaces, the behavior is that it will widen the column to fit the text. What you can do is choose the third auto-fit feature, which is fixed column width. And this is going to force the text to wrap no matter how long the word is. So that's the text wrapping inside of the table. Let's think about that outside the table. Now this table, not quite a full width table, it's not going out to the margins. When you find that a table doesn't really seem to suit going out to the margin, then you should center it in your document. Now doing that, what happens is a lot of people will click on this little marker and drag the table where they want it to be, and then as you can see, all sorts of crazy things start to happen. So I don't recommend that you drag and put it into position, because you will have very little control over that table. You could take all day doing that. Instead, what I'm going to suggest that you do is that in the Layout tab, you go to the Properties and you set the text wrapping to none, or make sure that it is set to none, as it is right now. I'm going to move that back down and try it one more time. Text wrapping none, and see if it's made it to where I want it to go. Nope. So I'm going to actually find it often is easier to move text than it is to move the table. So instead of me having dragged that, I would have gone to the Layout tab, and in that Properties button, notice it's now set to none, that's your default, I would change the alignment there. So by setting that to center in here, there, my table is centered, and I don't have to fight with it to get it to sit where I want it to sit on the page. So that's all for this video on inserting tables. Thanks for your attention. Kia ora.